Your blood sugar climbs all night while you sleep. Then you wake up wondering why your fasting glucose is higher than the number you went to bed with. That is not a fluke. That is your liver dumping sugar into your bloodstream between 3 and 6 in the morning, and there is one spoon you can take before bed that flattens it. The study behind it is from 2007, Arizona State University, 11 adults, randomized crossover, real human trial. Almost nobody talks about it because the fix costs about $5. Here is what your liver is actually doing overnight. While you sleep, your growth hormone and cortisol both spike in a pulse pattern. They tell your liver to start manufacturing glucose from scratch, a process called gluconeogenesis. In a metabolically healthy 20-year-old, the liver makes just enough overnight glucose to keep your brain fueled and stops there. In a 40-plus body with even mild insulin resistance, that pulse overfires. Your liver dumps too much. You wake up at 110, 120, 140 milligrams per deciliter. That is the dawn phenomenon. Bowley and Garrick described it in the New England Journal of Medicine back in 1984, and 40 years later, the fix has stayed cheap. The fix is apple cider vinegar, 2 tablespoons, 8 ounces of water, 30 minutes before bed, diluted, never straight. The study is White and Johnston, 2007, Diabetes Care. 11 adults with well-controlled type 2 diabetes, ages 40 to 72. Each person rotated through both conditions, vinegar plus a small piece of cheese at bedtime versus water plus cheese at bedtime. The cheese was a buffer. The vinegar arm dropped morning fasting glucose by 4 to 6% versus placebo. In the subset who started with fasting glucose above 130, the drop was a full 6%. That's the only published trial that specifically tested bedtime timing with a wake-up glucose endpoint. It's not the big number, but it is from a single nightly dose. With consistent use, the effect compounds. The 2025 grade-assessed meta-analysis from Arjmandfard and colleagues pooled 7 randomized trials, 463 participants. The pooled fasting glucose drop was 21.93 milligrams per deciliter, about 22 points off the fasting number over 8 to 12 weeks. HbA1c dropped 1.53%, and there was a clear dose response. The threshold for the effect kicked in above 10 milliliters per day. 2 tablespoons is about 30 milliliters. That's right in the sweet spot. Why does it work overnight specifically? The acetic acid in vinegar converts to acetate, which raises an energy sensor inside your liver cells called AMPK. When AMPK is active, it shuts down the enzymes your liver uses to manufacture sugar overnight, specifically PEPCK and glucose-6-phosphatase. Less liver glucose dumping at 4 in the morning equals lower fasting glucose at 7. The mechanism review on this is Lim 2016, Molecular Nutrition and Food Research. Same compound also moves glucose transporters to your muscle cell surface, pulling glucose out of your blood independent of insulin. 2 mechanisms, 1 ingredient, about $5 a bottle. But before we lock the protocol, there is one common drink most people are using to manage blood sugar that may be making it dramatically worse. The data is in Nature, and it's not subtle.
If you switched to diet soda thinking it would help your blood sugar, there's a real chance you made it worse. Suez and colleagues, 2014, in Nature. The team gave mice 3 different artificial sweeteners, saccharin, sucralose, and aspartame. Within weeks, the mice developed glucose intolerance. The clean trick? They transplanted gut bacteria from the sweetener-fed mice into germ-free mice. The germ-free mice also became glucose intolerant, just from the bacteria. That is causation, not correlation. The human sub-study in the same paper took 7 healthy non-sweetener-using volunteers, gave them the FDA-acceptable daily intake of saccharin for 1 week. 4 out of 7 became glucose intolerant by day 5. 1 week, real humans, published in Nature. Most channels will not tell you that because half their viewers are on Diet Coke. Real vinegar and water does the opposite. The acetate feeds short-chain fatty acid-producing bacteria. Your gut lining gets fed. Your liver gets a clean signal to stop dumping sugar overnight. Cheap, peer-reviewed, the opposite of the sweetener trap. Here is the exact protocol. 2 tablespoons of raw, unfiltered apple cider vinegar with the mother. That's the cloudy strand at the bottom of the bottle. That's where the live bacteria and acetic acid are. 8 ounces of plain water. 30 minutes before bed, at least 2 hours after your last meal. The White and Johnston trial used a small piece of cheese with it as a buffer. That's optional, but useful if your stomach is sensitive. After you drink it, rinse your mouth with plain water. Vinegar is acidic enough to soften tooth enamel over time. Use a straw if you find that easier. Stay upright until you fall asleep. Do not lie flat right after drinking acid. Real warnings. If you take insulin, metformin, sulfonylureas like glipizide or glyburide, do not just add vinegar on top. The combination can push you into hypoglycemia. Talk to your doctor first. If you take digoxin or potassium-wasting diuretics like furosemide or hydrochlorothiazide, the chronic high-dose case reports show low potassium risk. Get a blood panel before stacking long-term. Never sip apple cider vinegar undiluted. The case report from 2005 documents a tablet lodging in the esophagus and causing chemical burn. Always 1 part vinegar to 8 parts water. Always. What to buy? The label has to say raw, unfiltered with the mother. Pasteurized clear vinegar will not work. The bacteria and acetate density are gone. We recommend Bragg Organic Raw Apple Cider Vinegar. Link is in the description. USDA Organic, Non-GMO Project Verified, 5% acidity, the same spec the research uses informally. About $5 for a 32-ounce bottle. That works out to about 6 cents per nightly dose, roughly 2 months from 1 bottle. If you want the parallel cheap plant protocol for daytime blood sugar, the Berberine video is the one. There's a card going up. Berberine works through a different pathway during meals, while bedtime vinegar works on the overnight gluconeogenesis. Stack them, and the fasting number drops faster. Reminder, this is research.